Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're here with a mod review. A mod that we've covered in the past, however it's just received a massive update which gives it its own faction. This is of course Yin-yin the Sea Dragon, and as you can tell we're starting off in Lustria. So if you're the fan of the old Warhammer fantasy lore when it comes to Grand Cathay, which did translate to the newer stuff in this new iteration, well, now you get to live the invasion of Lustria, where Yin-yin did try and then got kicked out of Lustria, which, you know, it's always cool because that means that the dragon itself is not all-powerful and it kind of brings them more down to a more respectable power level in a sense. But this mod is for people who liked Grand Cathay and want to have a kind of unique experience. It's actually fairly different, so let's just jump right in and talk about all the specifics. Not only do you start here, but there's a lot more to talk about. So with a new faction, obviously comes faction effects, which are as follows. Also, you can see how Yin-yin looks pretty cool, but campaign movement range plus 8% for all armies. You're going to be quite mobile here. Missile damage plus 15% for Dragon Fleet Marines. These are a new unit, we'll talk about them in a little bit. Income from ports plus 10%. Again, you're going to be a naval focused faction. Think of yourself as a new version of the Vampire Coast. And finally, diplomatic relations minus 40 with Dark Elves and Lizard Men. Seeing as that you're starting in Lustria, well, that's going to cause a few problems now, isn't it? And regarding the Dark Elves, well, there's a few Dark Elf factions that you're going to end up seeing, like Rakaf and even Lustria. More on that a little bit later. Her own unique trait also has the following benefits: campaign movement disabled when recruiting, has access to shipbuilding, leadership plus 6 when in foreign territory for Lord's army, charge bonus plus 10 for Lord's army, and finally harmony plus 3 for Yin. Stat wise she's pretty good. She is a multi-purpose character. Not only does she have access to spells, but she's got access to a little bit of range. She's also quite good at melee, so she's very strong in general. And when it comes to her unique skill line, it's quite good overall. You've got bonuses to campaign movement range, a really tough one for your army. It's plus 20%. You can increase the amount of money that you're going to be making from ports faction-wide, which is quite massive, and also the trade resources produced. So this is going to be quite good if you're going to focus on trade with the other Cathayan factions, improving the abilities of your soldiers, not only fighting on land, but fighting on sea too. And just in general, boosting up your capabilities. You're going to be quite strong, and you need to be quite strong anyway, considering that you are going to be dealing with a lot, and I mean a lot, of lizard men. As stated before, you'll also have access to shipbuilding. Now keep in mind that you won't have every single unit. It's actually rather small, but it's enough to give her a lot of flavor and a lot more mobility when it comes to fighting your way around Lustria. So you'll have access to some new units here, and we'll talk about them a bit later. There's also some units that you won't have access to. It's a rather interesting mod to see how this expands, but overall I'd say that this is very, very useful. The upkeep reduction is definitely very, very useful, and you do get some artillery stuff, you do get your basic mariners, you get some halberdiers, you even get some modded in Nipponese samurai which look absolutely amazing. But in general, you've got enough to keep you going and enough to build up a decent army at the very least. But this is where things get a tad more interesting. You see, you don't just start with Yin-yin in Lustria. You in fact have another army which is situated in Grand Cathay and is dealing with a bunch of Nipponese pirates. There's a big amount of them, and you do have an ally there, but this battle itself is not going to be easy. It's definitely going to be something that you're going to have to work for, and it will be very tough in the harder difficulties, I'll be very honest with you. But it's going to allow for you, if you can survive there, to have two areas for which you can expand and which you can build up quite a strong empire and get a lot more money coming into you. This is also because you have access to the eastern provinces in Mount Lee, which means that you have access to a full area. And yeah, you're going to have to defend that. There's going to be loads of enemies, but this means obviously a lot more cash and just general stability. It depends on what you want to go. You can choose to abandon it, you can choose to be there. It's really just to give you the choice. This means that you can start in Lustria or focus Cathay. An element of choice is always welcome, and it gives you a feeling very similar to that of, say, for example, Manus Darkblade, who can have both. And like I said, you'll be fighting a very, very big army. They've got loads of different types of units, hell, a lot of modded stuff too, which are quite strong. The characters themselves too, the lore choices. So you're going to have to really fight if you want this to work. I mean, you can easily retreat, but they will cause you problems. This is a faction which will start attacking you, well, as soon as possible. They are quite strong. Once you're dealing in the far east, you've also got to deal with the west, where you can then decide if you want to take a city or if you want to go fight. Remember that she doesn't have to actually take over a city to recruit because of the shipbuilding, but it very much depends on what you want to do, and you're going to be feeling the attacks very early. If you're playing in harder difficulties, say for example in legendary mode, you're going to have all of Lustria on you within a few short turns. It's just how it works with how diplomacy is right now. At the beginning, you've only got a minor faction to deal with, so if you can take them out within, say, 5 turns or so, you'll be better off, or else Gorok will be your next problem, and yeah, he can be a problem. By the way, you can check out some of the new stuff that you won't have access to just yet. Keep in mind that it's just there just to act as an enemy at the moment. Whether this faction then gets something in the future, we won't know. But this is why they're so strong. It's the fact that the enemies have minus 100% upkeep for Lord's army. So that means that you're going to be dealing with a lot of enemies coming straight for you, as the AI will focus those units. And yeah, they can be a bit of an issue. I'm just letting you know in advance, or if you want to just check that out. Don't worry, however, they don't have access to the full Vampire Coast roster. They've got some stuff with obviously how the undead factions can now recruit some troops, you know, with the insta-recruit. But in most cases, they'll just be getting some of these dudes, you know, the pirates and, well, even some basic heroes like the Mongols and stuff. But it's important to know because they can be a bit of a problem. Take them out before they actually start overwhelming you if you decide to stay in Cathay. Now, there's a lot of units and not all of them available for you to recruit. In fact, some of them are available just to your enemies at the moment, which are the Jade Sea Pirates. But you can tell that a lot of love went into them. They look absolutely awesome. The samurai themselves, hell, even the pirates themselves, they look cool. It's a mixed unit, you know, so you've got different body types in there. It just looks really, really nice. For some reason, they do sound like orcs. I'm assuming it's because, obviously, right now, the modders haven't really found how to do custom audio. So it might kill off the immersion a little bit. Then, mind you, pirates sounding like Warhammer orcs kind of fits too, and they look absolutely awesome. You can tell just in general. The whalers you'll be having access to, by the way, and they are a very good unit. They're a very, very good unit. There's just so many that you can just play around with, and I honestly think that this is just something really different for your Cathay campaigns. If you want something stylized, if you want something special, if you just want something completely different, you've also got access to the Golden Heron, which we spoke about in a previous video. This is a summon for Yin-yin herself, which will show up a little bit later in this clip, and it's just absolutely amazing. It's probably one of the most impressive things I've seen from a modded character, well, modded faction, mod in general. Is just absolutely stunning, and it does a lot of damage. It's something to deal with hordes, so if you're going to be dealing with a lot of Sauruses, a lot of Skinks, hell, even Skaven, because Skaven are in the south too, you're going to have to deal with them. You're going to want something with big firepower, you know? And obviously, since Yin-yin is a dragon of Cathay, she can go from human form to dragon form, and she's got a fantastic looking model. It's just absolutely special. Like, it's got that real sea dragon feel, you know, you've got all the kelp on her, and it's just super cool. The model just looks absolutely amazing. I love watching it. In general, you've got a lot going on here, and I would say that if you want to play as Cathay again, but you don't want to play as Meow Meow or Zhao Ming again, try this mod out. It'll be found in the description below. It's just so good, and it just has this massive feeling to it. Like, this is definitely going to be something I'm going to stream myself, because it's just so different, and it's just so cool. Keep in mind that you'll also have to use Mixers Unlocker to be able to use this as a playable faction, but that is linked on the mod page itself. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below, as I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think about a new fan faction. This is not one that we're expecting in the future officially, but who knows, maybe a year, 2, 3 years from now. We all know that CA is a little slow with DLC, and there's some other factions that need a bit more help before Cathay get it, you know? But with all that being said, I'll see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.